Hello, listeners, and welcome back. It is us, Dragon's Greed Gaming, and you are joining us for episode 2 of our Tale of Four Gamers series as we delve back into the old world, the world that was of Warhammer Fantasy 6th edition we're doing. So, thank you so much for joining us. I've got my co host back here, and we're going to show off what we've done so far. It's been a busy month for everybody, and well, let's just dive right into it. So, Sean, why don't we start with you? Well, first of all, how's everybody been? Let's start there before I jump the gun.
Doing well, thanks.
Good, good.
Yeah, it's been a good week, good month.
Yeah, excellent. Good
Very
to hear.
fast one, I feel like. Very fast month.
Yeah, it's almost March. That feels crazy.
Crazy, yeah.
These goals jumped out at us.
Yep.
Cool. So, Sean, tell us, what have you been up to? What have you managed to get done the last few weeks?
Sure. So I ordered the skeletal horsemen from the Etsy store Undying Dynasties.
Okay.
And so they have some pretty cool sculpts. I've got some more actual infantry skeletons coming too. So I was able to build them. I've got them separated in halves right now. So you've got like a little, got to put it in front of my face, a little skeleton horse with the legs of the guy attached. And then I've got like his upper body. So once I get some primer in here, be able to start painting them, hopefully in the Cetra color scheme with like the deep red and the turquoise. So yeah, that's what I've gotten done so far.
And how big is this? Is it an 8-man squad?
No, they're just 5-man squads.
Five-man
squads.
Okay. And is that what you plan on running in the list?
Yeah.
A 5-man unit?
2 5-man units a horse, and then like a block of 20 skeletons, and that makes up sort of the core of the army.
Yep.
And then I get all the cool stuff afterward, but it's only like 200 points of cool stuff, so we'll see.
Now, I refresh my memory, are both types of horsemen core units in the
Yes.
6th edition?
Yeah,
The
so
archers or the
heavy and archers, but I like the archers.
Heavy?
Yeah, my 5+ heavy armor save while riding a horse, guys. So strong.
So heavy with their strength 4 spears. They don't even get lances.
Only strength 4 on the charge, Chris.
I know. Oh, I know.
Strength 3 all the other times.
Yeah, so. Heavy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, heavy is the joke. So yeah, these are not spearmen on horses. They're bowmen, light cav. They've got the scout rule, so they can run around and reform every turn if they need. Very, very helpful.
Oh yeah, the fast cav rules were amazing with the 360 line of sight.
Oh, it's great. Get a free reform every turn, so you can avoid dudes who are trying to charge you.
Yeah, so we had mentioned earlier, man, these models look fragile as hell.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't tested it. I'm not going to drop one of them on the floor, but yeah, they definitely feel a little fragile.
I mean, is that thing just glued to the base by that little hoof?
By 2 hooves, yeah. So each one only has 2 hooves, and they're not flat, so I had to file them down a little bit so they had better contact. But super glue's holding so far. The actual skeletons are like the Warhammer Fantasy ones where they connect by the shoulder joint, and then like a headpiece. So those are pretty much the same.
And did you glue the rider to the horse?
No.
You paint them separate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Much easier for me.
You might want to consider maybe pinning the horses to the bases. That might be the way to go.
Yeah. So when I get the second unit, I might pin the to the bases, as well as because they're connected from like the vertebrae to the rib cage, and that's where they connect actually. So it's an awful connection if you don't have plastic glue or like a pinning set. So I'm just going to start pinning them with very small paper clips, because it was just a pain trying to super glue these guys together.
Sorry, my cat's decided to join, and now he's causing all sorts of havoc.
Guest star, no problem.
Always, yeah, you got to have Jonesy. Okay, cool. Well, they look very Tombs King-ish, and they actually have reins on their horses and saddles.
And arrows in their bows.
Yeah, and stirrups for their feet, man. That's a long cry from glue the skeleton butt to the skeleton horse's back, right?
Yeah. Oh, he's just on his rib cage. So cool. So
Cool.
they definitely look great, but we'll
And
see how durable they are.
Sorry, is that all you have so far? Is just the 5 horsemen?
Yeah, so far. I've got
Okay.
more regular skeletons coming, and then after I finish that unit, I want to build and paint one of the cooler units. So, treat myself after 2 months of regular guys.
Right. And are those all from, what was it, Undying Destinies?
Undying dynasties.
Dynasties. Okay. I might have linked, or I might have shown an image of the wrong thing last session then, because I think it was Undying Kingdoms.
Oh, okay.
Kingdoms of
Yeah.
the Sand. It was some Kickstarter that looked like Tomb King stuff. So I
Right.
guess, yeah, if you're looking to do Tomb Kings, you have 2 options now.
Yeah,
So
Etsy's a great option because they're not too expensive.
yeah, and you're usually supporting like some dude who's just doing a 3D printer, so you're kind of like helping a little business in a way. So
Yeah, I'm here for it.
yeah, I found lots of cool shit on Etsy. All right, cool. Anything else to talk about? Anything else you've been working on, or is that pretty much it?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it in the hobby sphere. So
Okay.
that's where we're at.
All right. Again, listeners, if I'm looking all over the place, I got 2 monitors here. I'm trying to look at our images as I talk, and like I said, my cat decides he wants to be part of this sometime. Well, one of my cats. We have 3, so we've got triple trouble here. Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully we'll get to see some painting. What happened? You said there was some painting issues this week
Yeah,
with the
like I
primer?
ordered the primer and it was said delivered, and so I went down to my apartment's open area where they deliver all the packages, and it just wasn't there. So I called, and they're like, "Yeah, well, we're trying to find it in the system. We'll give you a call back when we know." So, well, come on, guys. So I might just go out to a hobby store today and buy primer.
So was it delivered?
They don't know. So the person who delivered it entered it in as delivered, but they don't have it in their system, and they can't like find the package, so it's not been sent back anywhere.
Classic.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
What kind of primer did you get?
It was the Army Painter Bone Primer.
Oh, good choice. Yeah,
Yeah,
Army
so
Painter's good stuff for their colored primers.
yeah. So
Highly
after we
recommend.
talked, I took a look at it. I was like, all right, that fits pretty well. So
5 stars would prime again.
good to hear.
Excellent. Okay, well, why don't we move it on to our resident undead general, Eric? How have you been since last we spoke?
Hey, pretty good. I got my ghouls all painted up. My just a standard ghoul unit of 25. I was able to get them through all the steps that I do, which is kind of like a prime, a base coat, a wash, some details, another wash, and then just like a quick basing scheme that I do. I also was like, oh, well, when I was pulling them out of my case, I was like, oh, I have these wraiths I could do too. Wraiths are super easy, just black cloaks.
And they're super good.
And that was before I realized that in 6th edition, wraiths are not a unit. they are a hero choice.
Oh,
So
did they become a unit in 7th edition?
One of the editions, they become a unit with a banshee as the champion.
Yeah, that must have been 7th, because I remember I had a unit of those when I had my Vampire Count's army, and I remember they're expensive and they're fragile, but man, they hit like a truck.
Yeah, the ethereal really helps.
Yeah. I got a flank charge on a unit of Bretonnian knights once with wraiths flying out of the woods, and man, those knights, that was a bad day to be a Bretonnian knight.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I have a bunch of wraiths now. I might throw one into a hero slot. I still haven't found a good unit I want to use for my Strigony, so I'm kind of playing with my other models and seeing what I can fill that hole with if I don't find anything.
Okay.
I just found a company that has 3D files, so I might print something. So I'm gonna check them out again. I forget the name though. I'll have to go look it up.
You've got a 3D printer, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if any of us find STLs, we can send them to you then, right?
Yeah, they're They are pretty fragile though, so be careful with that pinning.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't want to drill into one of those.
I've gained a reputation for being a master pinner, so I will
Yeah.
take that challenge on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I've-
it's very different than like Forge World Resin. Like
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah. I also, after fighting my ghouls for the past couple months to rank them up, realized that they're skirmishers. So I also painted their movement tray that I don't need.
That's okay. Well, when we go to 7th edition, they'll be ready to
Yeah.
make the jump.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Well, that's good. So is this unit completely finished then? Are you calling it done?
Yeah, I'm calling this unit done.
Okay. I love it.
There might be some like little things that I pick out later just to, I don't know, finish it, but there are so many ghouls and skeletons that I don't know that for horde armies, I don't know that it's worth picking out each detail individually sometimes.
I expect every quill on their back to be based, shaded, and highlighted.
Yep, pupils, all of it.
Yep, every fingernail, every claw.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, it's a pretty good month.
How many how many points is that ghoul unit?
I think it's about 200, 250 maybe.
I'm gonna
There's
say
25 of them.
Chunk. Yeah.
25 of them. I think they're about 8 points a model plus a champion.
Can you actually run a unit of 25 in 6th when they're skirmishing? That's a big mob of skirmishers.
I don't think it has a limit for how big they're allowed to be.
Okay.
I think it's just, I think they're 5+.
I remember a lot of the undead used to have unit size caps because they cause fear.
Mm-hmm.
But they're so expensive. It's like, I'm not going to run like a unit of 40 skeletons in 6th edition. That'll be like my one unit.
And ghouls are a little bit different because they're alive.
Still alive, yep.
Yeah, so they get a little bit extra rules and still take psychology tests and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do they still have poison attacks?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
That was their thing. Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you've made some progress.
I know how much you love poison.
I mean, if it's on ghouls, I can deal with it. It's fine.
It's not blowpipes.
Can shoot a few ghouls before they tear up my dudes. Yeah, it's skirmishing skinks that scout and have 360 line of sight that annoy me. Kill 250 point giants in one round of shooting. Makes a lot of sense. Very fair and balanced. My favorite part of your images is the bottle of Gorilla Glue in the background, because that shit's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Is that a Corn Berserker back there I see in the top corner? Or a Terminator or something?
That is my 30k Moritat.
Okay.
He's like he's a hero character that dual wields Volkite pistols, and they do chain firing.
Okay.
And they use rad weaponry and stuff, so their armor gets all blackened and scorched.
Cool.
So
what is next on the list? What's next on the hobby desk?
I think I'm gonna do the skeletons before I do the charnel guard or the metal ghouls. I think I'm gonna do the skeletons next. Wonderful. So I have a unit of 20, I think 20 or 25 again.
Cool. All right. Well, you definitely have taken the lead here with progress, so that's a lot of ghouls. Awesome, and a little extra on the side. So
yeah, we'll see if I use them.
Yeah. Well, I imagine some of us will probably end up with larger than 1,000-point armies, depending on the speed we're painting. So,
yeah.
Or just play chaos, and one guy costs 30 points. It's real easy.
Yeah.
So,
and I have a couple extra undead models in my case, so I'm just kind of I'll just paint this with it. What's 1 or 2 extra models?
All right, cool, man. I've got the skeleton shirt today to celebrate your undead.
Nice.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's move it on to the speed painting champion himself.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't say things like that, because then now I feel pressure.
It's true though. Brian took home, what was it? Speed painting in Gen
Yeah,
Con.
yeah, the
The
Gen Con speed
first
painting,
place.
whatever.
It was so casual. He's like, I think I'm gonna enter this, and then he's like, oh, I guess I won. I got these sweet ass brushes.
Yeah, that I've never used. Maybe I should break him out for this. Then maybe that's the thing.
Yeah. Do you remember the guy we were joking about because he was blowing on his models to make them dry?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was really dramatic. It was a competition for
Uh-oh.
sure. There was. Oh no.
You
Am I there?
you were breaking up a little bit there.
Oh yeah, I was just
Yeah.
saying it was a genuine competition. There was really some people taking it seriously.
Yeah.
I was just I just showed up of it, painted like some kind of bear or something like that. I remember. Well, there was a couple rounds. So the first round was like a demon of some sort, and the second round was like a nightmare bear or something.
Yeah, I think it was a bear from Malifaux, if I recall.
Yeah.
Stitched together nightmare Mr. Cuddles or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good times. Well, yeah. I'll have to live up to that reputation. Although I'm not quite happy with what I've got yet, so we'll see.
All right, we'll talk about these Bretonnians. I'm looking at some of the pictures here.
So yeah, I kind of do. I think I'm a little different in that I base my models and put the grit on it first before I even prime them. So I had this whole process. So I do the wood glue, and then I put the grit on, and then I go over that again with like a really thinned down watery thing of wood glue that kind of seals it all together.
Yep.
And that has been a massive time sink doing that with the archers. And I have 48 of like the kind of standard bow dudes, the one piece bow dudes, and then I have like 6 guys in the 6 total command squad type guys. So the numbers don't work out, but I figured like I'll just paint a couple of extra guys, and then whatever happens, if one's ugly, then I just leave them behind. Or
is that what you're using the man-at-arms for? They're
yes,
they're going to be like the command. Okay.
Yeah, and each of those guys with the spears is going to have like a different size banner on it and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
okay. And can archers are they able to take a full command in 6th?
Yeah. Well, they have like the what do they call him? He's a villain, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the banners, and I think they get a musician as well.
Okay.
Or if they don't, and then I also got to figure out something to do with the spikes and the flaming braziers or whatever they're called.
Okay.
So I got to model that stuff too.
So are you going to be running 2 big units? 2 units of 25?
I think 2 of 25. Yeah, 2 units of 25.
That's a lot
archers.
Of bows.
It is, yeah, and like as I'm like putting this grit down on 50 something models, I was like, what? Like why am I doing this? So dumb, I promised never to do.
It's time consuming if you go the other way too, right? So
I suppose, yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I was kind of making progress with that. I had some high drama yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. With my priming, I ran out before work and primed them, so I'd be ready to paint last night when I got home from work. Went to work and realized that I'd actually left them outside in like 20-degree weather all day. So my Bretonnians were completely frozen. A couple of them actually popped off their bases completely with with the wood glue. Like the wood glue was still there with the grit in it, and like the base was like laying there, and like there's this guy in this little disc of so thawed him out today, and started working. And I've been complaining about white. I literally sat down here to do this, and I've been complaining about painting white, and my old Gandalf is sitting in front of me here, who is essentially white, and I got to remember what I did with him, because I was happy with this white, but I'm not happy with the white that I've been working on so far. And
what
it's really sloppy.
White are you using? Is that a GW paint?
Yeah, it's a total mishmash. So I'm using whatever, so that how GW has like kind of yellowish white and the bluish white, and the yellowish white is like, it used to be bone white or something, or bleached bone, and then the blue white was like, I forget what it was called. So what I was doing is using kind of like a bluish green, like a sea green, as like the shading, and then going up with the bone, and then, or sorry, the skull white, and then going to the bluish white for the like the final highlights. So like I don't know if that makes sense or not, but like I'm using both whites basically. It's different parts. Working very, very quickly. My theory has always been it needs to look good 3 feet away. It doesn't need to look good up close. By the way, I love your stuff because it does look really good up close. So now you're gonna force me to like raise my game a little bit.
Well,
I
I
think.
only had to paint 12 dudes, not 50. So
Yeah, well, that's
they
fair.
got a little more love.
Yeah, TLC. But at least for the good characters, I'm gonna have to like make them really special, I think. But
And
yeah,
how much
so
have you managed to get painted so far?
so the 20 of the bowmen are the white is done on 20 of the bowmen, and I've started painting the damsel just because like she was there with them. So she's like, she hasn't been highlighted like anything, like her hair and her skin and everything, but I'm about, I would say 3/4 done with the white on her as well. So she's got a ways to go, but she's and my whole thing about I need to finish 20 guys before I paint the damsel, that's out the window, obviously, because I'm like basically testing the color on her. She became like the first model, not the last. But I've kind of been, so part of my problem, or not problem, but like fixation and all this is like I got to develop a story. So now I'm thinking like, oh, I don't want to go like pure white. Besides they're Bretonnians, they shouldn't be like too nice, And so I start developing the story, like there's always like the Lady of the Lake or whatever in the Bretonnian lore. So maybe they're gonna have like a sea greenish white, like a sea foam kind of color, and that was because they're dedicated to the lady, and like they're, maybe I'll do some water effects on some of the models or something like that, like they're by the lake or something. I don't know. So then I get carried away with that. And then now I'm thinking like, oh, their banners are they're going to have like images of the Lady of the Lake on them, and they're going to be like committed to her. And so now I'm coming up with this whole like narrative thing to justify the fact that I can't paint white, and like, kind of mix all that together. So that's part of the fun of it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I do have one question though. What's
Yes.
with these circular bases?
Oh, yeah. So I'm glad you asked. So yeah, the circular bases. So I'm getting those trays. I've been looking into them. I think who does it? I think Gale Force 9 used to, but then I was finding them on, what's that company in Indiana? I can't think of their name. Hold on. Well, there's a company in Indiana that does all the kind of like tokens and stuff like that, and they do little MDF bases, and basically they'll rank up exactly like they would if they were
cool. Yeah.
So there's like, the 1-inch round.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old trays they did when they did the mass Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah, and I would basically be putting them on a tray anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they do like, you can do like a 10x2, so it'd be like a row of basically a block of 20.
Yep.
So I'm getting those. It's gonna torture me until I remember the name of this company.
Was it Litco?
Litco, thank you.
Boom.
Yes.
I remember those guys.
Yeah.
I remember some fire tokens from back in the day.
Back in the day, I probably still have some in my attic. Yeah.
They're here somewhere, that's for sure.
Inexhaustibles. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, Litco does these, and they do all different kinds of shapes, and you can get them like a little bit more spread out or closer together. So I'm gonna like pack them in the way they would be if they were properly ranked up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then, man, look at Sean's shoulder glitching out over there. Or is that part of his chair too? That looks so weird. I don't know. It looks really long. It bothers me. What's the plan for this coming month? What's the goal?
All right. So my goal is to have all 50 infantry done and their banners. So I use like Photoshop and stuff like this for the banners. I'll get this whole thing that I do, and I print it out on a kind of glossy-ish, almost like magazine type paper, rather than paint the banner. I can't paint the banners, but then I fold them over and put wood glue in between them, and you can get like a rippling effect, because as it's drying, you can kind of
sure.
So like so the banners are going to be my thing, and all 50 bowmen must be done by the end of this month.
All right,
Or,
I'm
well,
looking
by the end of our month.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing those banners because I've never done anything quite like that, and especially with like old like sixth edition, especially before sixth edition. A lot of the guys are like your men at arms, where they just have a banner pole. They don't actually have a sculpted banner like
Right.
became the norm
Yeah.
in the later. So you either had to. I remember photocopying stuff out of the army book and trying
Yeah.
to do that. So
Yeah, remember you could, and they had them like kind of in mirror images, and you could fold them in.
yeah, and I could never get them to fold right without messing it up, or like the old sticker banners, that
Yeah.
stuff too. So
Yeah.
cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, the race is on. So we'll see what gets done here. So that'll be cool, man. Excellent. All right. Well, then there's my stuff. So, hello, everybody. It is the Great Unclean One back here, and I have been busy as well, although my progress has been much more slow and incremental. I've managed to usually get about an hour of painting at night before we get ready to go to bed. Occasionally, maybe on the weekends, I'll get an hour or two here, but for the most part, it's like Monday through Friday right now. So as you can see, I have managed to pretty much paint all 12 of the Chaos Warriors with great weapons. That's going to be my main squad. Luckily, that's like 250 points, so that's like a quarter of the army right there. The paint scheme has more or less turned out how I wanted. There's been a little hiccups here and there, but I'm pretty happy with how it's gone. What you see here is basically just base coats and then a wash over that. The only thing that was different, the black, the armor, I primed them gray, dry brushed a lighter gray, and then I did a contrast black over that. I think it was Black Templar, which gives it kind of like a beat up because you kind of still see the gray, the highlights from the dry brush underneath. So it helps keep it from just looking like it's solid black. I might go over this with an art coat to tone down the shine from the wash. I've noticed the new GW shades are a lot shinier than before. You can especially see it like on the champion's hair, like her orange hair and that dude's hood. And on the capes too, you can really see it on the infantry. So we will probably mess around with that. But other than that, I think these guys are pretty much done. I might go through and do a little bit of detail on the champion, probably pick out the eyes and stuff like that. But I don't know if I really want to go further than this. I mean, I was thinking of doing highlighting, but I don't know. I'm kind of pleased with this, and if it means I can get more stuff painted, like this on a tabletop, parts of it look highlighted too, like the boots on the infantry looks like it's highlighted, even though it's just a base coat and a shade. So, we'll see. I don't want to do too much more work because I'm pretty happy with them, and I'd rather just get other stuff painted. So, these guys are looking pretty good. I pretty much finished that up last night. And then here and there in between, I've managed to get the knights built. You can see I've got 4 of the 5 are completely built. The last one is just the horse so far. So he's ghost ridering right now. But these are the ones from the starter set, the Slaves of Darkness Getting Started box. So this is before the current Chaos Knights came out. So these 5, there are parts for a champion. He has like a flail, which I didn't build because I might put the flail on the Chaos Lord. So I'm going to have to find a way to convert these guys to actually have a command section. I don't think the banner will be too hard to convert because there's a couple guys holding their lances straight up. So I'll probably just chop off the top and just put a banner of some sort. A musician might be a little bit trickier, and the champion will just get some sort of weapon swap with like a sword or an axe or something. But in between when I'm painting, or if I got like free time here and there, if I don't want to drag around all the paints, I'll bust out a model and start building and cleaning it. But I take so long to clean models. Each one of these nights took about an hour to clean. Yeah, and these were pretty bad because they're like the 2 halves that go together. So there's like a mold line all around the edge. So that was a real pain in the ass to clean, but I like building models. That doesn't really bother me too much. It's just time consuming.
Chris, I have to ask, because turnabout is fair play. What's with the oval bases?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my bases, as I said, I'm gonna do like a winter theme, and I'm gonna try something a lot more in depth than I've ever done with a basing scheme before. I have like all the tools and stuff here. I've got this stuff from AK. Oh, and I'm gone. There we go. So I've got like this box here, and then I've also got some of their like snow bottle things. I've watched a bunch of different tutorials on YouTube, and I made a list. This was like last summer. I made a list of like all the stuff that they were using. Saved a bunch of those videos, and probably going to use a mixture of those where it'll be like really dark ice that they're walking over with occasional snow drifts. So I want it to look very dark with the ice, but then very bright with the snow to have like a cool contrast. So I am not at the point where I'm ready to tackle the bases because that's going to be a whole project. So that's why I've done um, the cork thing here, which I've never done before with models. I'm usually the type of guy that glues them to the base, paints them, and whatever I can't reach just doesn't get painted. And those are the bases that these guys come with. And you can see like on one of the knights, there's a hole at the front of the base that they have like little pegs that just go into there. So they're not glued to the bases. That's just to keep them standing. So I don't have to deal with the corks right now. I'll probably move them to corks when I paint them. So they will be on square bases, but these guys are pretty huge. You guys can see I have a image here that shows the scale to the old Chaos Warrior. And when you hold the Chaos Warrior up next to him, he's about the same size. The knight is a little bit bulkier, but from head to toe, they look almost the same height. But when he's standing next to the horse does look pretty monstrous, I have to say. So, I mean, look like the horse's back is taller than the dude's head. I mean, I know horses tend to be pretty big creatures, but anyway, he looks a little out of scale, but that's okay. So, um, we'll get to that eventually. We'll try it out and see how it works. But these guys are so big, I don't know if they're going to fit on regular cav bases. I might need to push them up a step. So I don't know how it's going to look ranking up. You know, these Chaos Warriors I got to rank up, no problem. Well, not no problem, but they do rank up. The Knights, I'm not sure. So we'll have to see. I do have on order some movement trays. I found a company, I think it's called Teutonic Studios, that you can pick like the size of your movement tray. So like if you want it like 6x2 or 10x10 or whatever. So I was able to get the right size for the Chaos Warriors, and I also got stuff for the Knights. But I don't know if the regular 25x50 cav bases is going to work because these guys are pretty monstrous. If they do, they're going to be like right on top of each other. So we will have to see what happens with that. And then as far as what's next, put the finishing touches on these warriors, whatever's left to do. Then I'm probably going to build the Chaos Lord on the Juggernaut. I don't think I'm going to paint the Knights until I have all the conversion done with the command squad parts, so that might be a little bit later down the line. And the Chaos Lord is probably going to be right out of the box, except maybe a weapon swap. If nothing else, I can start painting the Juggernaut and get that done first, and then I'll get to the Rider. And that one I'll probably actually do like base coating, shading, highlighting, and really make him look sweet because it's one of my favorite models ever, and I think it's due time. But I'm gonna try doing, you know, you always see like corn stuff with red armor and like brass trim. I always thought it'd be cool to try black armor with red trim. So I'm going to try to switch it up a bit. I've seen like black bloodletters before where their skin looks like molten or like they're burned. And I always thought that was really cool. So I'm going to try to switch it up a bit and avoid like the brass armor bits and go with something a little different. Everything I've painted so far, with the exception of the contrast paint for the armor and the I used Games Workshop Shade, Agrex Earth Shade for the shading. Everything else was Duncan Paint's Too Thin Coats paint range. So I'm trying to limit myself because there's not as many paints. You know, I have all the Games Workshop paints, so I have like an endless plethora of options. This has forced me to make do with what I have, and I think it's come out with a really cool result. And the purplish color for the cloaks, I'm in love with. I think it looks really good. So we're gonna stick with this and try to limit what I have to use outside of that. He has shades in his paint range as well, but they did not look as good as the Games Workshop stuff, in my opinion. Is a little more dull. It's hard to tell, but one of these guys actually has the Duncan Coates paint shade, but you really can't tell. So, yeah. So the goal next month is probably at least to get the Chaos Lord finished, painted, get the Chaos Knights finished being built and converted, and then I'll probably start looking around to buy a box of Warhounds and or a chariot, and then we'll eventually get to the bases. That's still later down the line because I'm not sure how I want to tackle that. So we'll see how it all goes. But I'm pretty happy with where I am. I mean, the 12 infantry are probably going to be the longest part to paint because that's the biggest unit. I mean, with the knights, that's like 500 points right there. That's like half the army. So I can take my time a little bit here, which helps because I don't have a lot of time to paint. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what it's going to be for this month. So we'll see what happens and where we get in 30 days, give or take. So, well, I think that's really everything we have to go over today. Anybody else want to add anything? Say anything to our listeners? Anything you guys want to promote or anything like that?
I was just gonna say, actually, I think you know the guy from Tectonic Studios. His name's Dan. He's out in like New Jersey or something. You've met him before. I
Oh,
know you
really?
have.
Oh,
In an
wow.
Adepticon in years past. Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised, man. I've met so
yeah,
many people.
yeah.
They're
Um,
restructuring or moving their operations or something. So the
okay.
they're like there's a delay. I mean, I ordered like 3 weeks ago, and they said it'll probably be at least 2-3 weeks before the order even gets processed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's okay. There's no
I
rush.
remember meeting him. He seemed like a nice guy. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, if that is you, Dan, thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing those movement trays when they show up. So check them out. Tonic Studios. Looks like they got good shit. So cool. Well, thank you for joining us again, listeners. We're just about up on our time here. So hope you've enjoyed our little journey so far. I think we're going to have a lot more progress next month. We've had some delays with missing primer and painting white. So we're all getting our shoes and toes dipped wet here again. So I think we'll have a lot more next time. But again, if you are inspired or interested in joining us, shoot me an email at dragonsgreedgaming@gmail.com. We'd love to share your work, or just share it in the comments below. Tell us what you think. Whose army are you liking the best so far? Or, anything like that. We love to hear from you guys. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you on the flip side next month. Peace. Hello, listeners. Great Unclean One here. I just wanted to thank you for taking your time to watch this video. For more content like this, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons? And if you're a fan of role-playing games, then be sure to check out one of our actual play series. We've got campaigns of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Alien the role-playing game, and Warhammer 40,000 Wrath and Glory, with plenty more to come. Finally, a huge thank you to all of our Patreon members. Your support means the world to us, and you help push the channel to even greater heights. We simply could not do this without all of you. And if you'd like to help support the channel yourself, consider joining our Patreon and get yourself some cool rewards. Link in the description below. Thanks again, and we will see you in the next one. Same time, same place. Nighty night.